Good evening, everybody. How are we doing now? That's good. My name's Spitalere and Bill. I'm founder of the Essex County Ghost Project. Active all over New England. Essex County was formed back in 2007. Been doing events across all of New England since about then, averaging probably close to 100 plus events a year. That includes radio, TV, and everything else that we can do. Throughout the years, the team has changed to do different things. We still do paranormal. We're getting more. We've been involved with the crypto end of this for a long time. We'll get into that tonight. And now we're expanding at least into 10 states over the next couple of years under the UFO name of Essex County Ghost Project and UFO Research Team. We'll be expanding to Florida, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania. We have teams being formed as we speak today, so we are growing. What I'm going to do first, before I get started on the main course, I'm going to turn it over to my tech guy, Bill. He's going to talk about, what are you going to talk about, Bill? Okay, he'll tell you. Tell me the secret. And then we're going to get into what tonight's talk's all about. I think you're going to find Bill's talk, few-minute talk, very interesting. And then we'll get into the cryptids and haunted New England. All right? All right, Bill, take it over.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Ammells. I'm the tech manager and science advisor at Essex County Ghost Project. I tell you, it's Halloween, so what we're going to talk about? The Exorcist. Everyone see the Exorcist movie? You ever saw that? That was a true case, except that they changed a lot of things in it. Like, there was a girl in it, but there was actually a boy, 14-year-old boy. So, this is what happened. We're going to call this boy Clover. Okay? Now, he moved to St. Louis with his mother. Okay? And he got a knock. It was in the occult and spiritualism. And she had a Ouija board, and she taught Roman how to use the Ouija board. Okay? Well, a few months later, she passed away. And Roman was trying to contact her through the Ouija board. Okay? And what he brought through, of course, was the monk. Nothing happened for like 2 weeks. And then something started in the house. Like pictures falling off the wall, banging on the wall, knocking. It started off like that, nothing serious. And as another week went, things started picking up. Things falling across the room, knives, forks flying through the air, lamps falling over. Okay? And then, so his mother figured that she'll take him to the medical doctor. Medical doctor couldn't do nothing. Took him to a psychologist, PhD, couldn't do nothing. Took him to another psychiatrist, he couldn't do nothing either. So somebody said, why don't you contact the priest, Catholic priest, or maybe an exorcist. So, okay, so they went to the Catholic Church. He ordained Father Callahan. He had 3 other priests just with his help, okay, in the house. So they took the kid in the bedroom and asked the demon, tell him who he is. Of course, he wouldn't say who he was. And they were at it for like 3 or 4 weeks. Okay? A lot of stuff you saw in the movie with the pea soup, that's all obvious. This is real. So they took him, and of course they took holy water and of course it like the holy water. The demon was inside to the light. Right? And the kid was speaking Latin, Latin. They spoke Latin. They knew they didn't know Latin because they had studied in the schools. So what happened was Father Callahan, the main exorcist, Tony punched him in the nose, he broke his nose. That's strong. The demon inside. And they fought and fought for another 3 or 4 weeks before things started coming down. Okay? Finally, whatever it was, in Roland, they were lucky. Well, a lot of cases aren't lucky, of course, the person dies. In this case, Roland survived. He joined, his adulthood, he joined Nashville. And he died like 84 years old. But nothing happened after that. So, any questions on that? I thought it'd be a good talk.
Yeah, no, it was a good little talk. It was a last minute edition.
Yeah.
We sometimes do that every night. We'll throw in a last minute
All right.
pop.
You only got till 8, so
No, yeah, yeah. All right, so usually before I start my talks, I'm going to ask the same question. How many live in a haunted house or lived in a haunted house? Anybody here? How many think they might, maybe, okay. How many people think they might have seen a UFO or 2 in their life? Okay. How many think you've seen a Bigfoot, a Dingmaul, Birdman, or anything like that? Any of you? I knew that was going to be the answer. Now, how did I know that was going to be the answer? Do they exist? Yes, they do. But you're more likely to run into a UFO, just if you're out driving, like I have many times, or a paranormal entity you're more likely to run into than some of the stuff we're about ready to talk about here. So, everybody from the Haverhill area, anybody north of the Haverhill border here? No? Okay. Okay. We're almost there. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is a Dingmaul. This is a cryptid. We're going to do the cryptids first, and then we'll end with the hauntings, okay? I know what a Dingmaul is. Well, if you come up here, you're going to see a cat-like creature in the photograph up here. It was located in the White Mountains. It's a feline cryptid. It comes under the category of cryptid and maybe folklore. We're not sure. A large cat-like creature with short legs, tufted ears, wolf-like, 2 varieties, one in northeastern United States, Maine, and up on the Canadian border, and one in California was been seen. The size of a mountain lion, behavior inquisitive and harmless, diet unknown, forest in the mountains, sightings, accidental account sightings, encounters, lack of scientific evidence, skepticism, misidentification, known animals at the time of bobcat and mountain lion. Dingmaul is described as being a cat-like creature with long, slim body, covered in a wolf-like fur, round head with feline appearances, with tufted ears, very long tail that is described twice as long as the body of the cat. So imagine lugging that tail through the woods. The cat would, and the California one is got darker hair, and a bony ball at the end. And same with the one that was seen in Oregon and one was seen up in Maine. It has a ball at the end of the tail with a long tail that looks like a whip. You'll see it at that rock. White Mountains above the timberline. It's been seen between Mount Adams and Mount Jefferson in the presidential range. The flat top of the boulder in that area in the presidential range is actually called Dingmaul Rock. They named it after the Dingmaul. Okay. This cat-like creature has been seen sprawling rocks in eastern look in California. The eastern species is dreadful, horrendous, wail tail that can be heard echoing in the valley of the White Mountains. And this was actually seen the first in the 1800s. Now, keep that in mind. All right? Keep that in mind. Because a lot of this stuff was seen in the 1800s. As we go through this, you'll see. But anyone, any early guesses why all of a sudden, even Native Americans talked about this stuff, but is there any reason why the English or us people would start seeing them around the late 1700s, early 1800s? Any guesses why?
Well, more people moving in.
More people moving in, and what was the biggest industry in northern New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont? Logging. So you had people roaming the woods looking for logs. When you start roaming the woods looking for logs, you're going to find many other things, including Bigfoot. Anyone here believe in a Bigfoot? I wasn't going to ask about Dingmaul because, now, I don't hear much about it. It was one of those things I was going to do a talks up in northern New Hampshire. I did it. They wanted me to do it on Bigfoot and cryptids. And going through this book, I found the Dingmaul. So I just threw the Dingmaul in because it was interesting. There's been sightings all along the New Hampshire border. So Bigfoots are over 9 feet tall, hairy creatures who have an odd way of communicating, either with whoop or knocks, wood knocks against trees. So there's stories of them all over the place. And if I mention somebody's name, that means this came out of a book or a newspaper report. So that means once it's out there in public, I can use it, or anybody can use it. Chris Harrelson at Profile Bank out. This was comical. I came across this and had to do more research. So on June 12th of 2023, people in Rochester woke up to a bunch of Bigfoot walking around, seen around their town. I figured I'd start with this. Anyone guess why you'd seen so many Bigfoot in Rochester? They're having a carnival that day, and over the nighttime, people started putting Bigfoot in people's houses, those cutouts and stuff. I'm like, what is this thing? That's why the cryptid field gets, and the paranormal field, it's stuff like that that drive people nuts. But Hillsborough County, springtime. Not far from Russell Abbott State Forest, you know where Hillsborough, New Hampshire is, the state park. Anyone ever been there? Oh, you been to that park? Did you see anything there?
Think of air.
Oh, okay. It's on the Mason-Greenville town line of New Hampshire. Small apple orchard in the backyard with some pear trees along the hillside. This guy walked outside of his house and saw him in the apple orchards where the pear trees are. Right near the state park. Incident 2, there was an all-day backpacking trip. The guy left his house with a scent of his scent of a wet dog he would smell. And what it was unusually fond of people. He went into the house afraid. He ran into the house after smelling that. So that's even more interesting. The same guy, a year after that incident, his wife woke up to screaming in the woods, followed by yipping coyotes, followed by screaming cold, sounded like cougars, she said. So something, then they went outside and found some animals from the pot. And out of the corner of their eye, they thought they saw something that was 9 feet tall, hairy, under the other way. And then on the Souhegan River, off of Route 31, a large animal on all fours was standing, on all twos, was standing in the river. First thought to be a black bear, but the skin was light and the fur was long, and he looked taller than 6'2". And he moved with quick light once he was seen. All these Bigfoots seem to move pretty quickly. September 2004, Rockingham County, a town of Derry, New Hampshire, near Route 28. This guy woke up at 3 a.m. To a loud noise. Not a coyote, something weird, sound he never heard before. Lasted for about 15 minutes. Also in that area, not on this, where there's been Bigfoot, especially in this area of 28, there's been paranormal activity. A friend of mine went out, who's heard the Betty and Barney Hill story? You know where Betty and Barney Hill are buried, right? They went out to their grave. There was nobody around in broad daylight, and these two guys were UFO people, and I trust one for sure, the other one, it's still out there, but, you know, I trust everything. Not everything, but this guy. A stick flew right by their face while they were out in the graveyard at Betty and Barney Hill's site. That's not the first time I heard of that. Who thinks there might be Bigfoot in Haverhill at one time? Anybody? No. Well, I found the police report. I'm not going to mention their names, because they asked me not to. I had one of them on a podcast radio show I did through HC Media. He used a fake name once I had it confirmed in the police report. Up on Mount Washington, there used to be an apple orchard. These young guys were getting a little late in their dinner time, but they were playing outside. How many of us did that as kids? Plenty of us. Well, they got home late. They were going to be late. And while they were rushing home, out of the corner of their eye in the apple orchard, they saw this big, hairy creature that was over 9 feet tall looking at them. Scared the living daylights out of them. So bad so that the family called the Haverhill Police Department. And a very young officer who's now passed away, I did get to talk to him before he passed away, I will not mention his name, I promise I will. Confirmed the report. That he took the report and that's what was said in the police report. It was 1978. About 5 years ago, I was investigating a property that's still an active location on East Broadway. Everybody know where that is, right? I'm out in the woods now. We're off the private property. We're closer to the city walk trail out there. That's what's that lake out there? Millville? Yeah, Millville Lake, the Millville Trails. So there's myself, my two investigators, another friend of mine who I brought in, who was a Native American shaman, and myself. This limb came whipping right between us. Big thing about this big, like someone threw it. I saw it out of the corner of my eye and moved back and it went right between us. We don't know what that was. But it was coming so fast and it was a pretty heavy lift, I doubt it was a human being trying to scare us off the trail. Because it is a public trail. And it happened to be broad daylight still, so we're actually on the trail during, quote, open hours in the summertime. So those trails are open dawn to dusk. All the trails are. So that was real interesting. It happened right here in Hampshire. Then on July 2013, 14-year-old heard a howl, a loud howl, in Nottingham, New Hampshire. Everyone at Nottingham is, right? If you don't, I have a map up here that shows you, I highlighted some of the sites of where the cryptids were seen. A loud foul lightning strike, shriek, looked down the hill, big brown figure hitting a tree. He got up and he walked around and then ran to his house. It scared the living daylights out. To December 2023, Sutton, New Hampshire. Doorbell cameras. Who's got doorbell cameras in their houses? Oh, all right. Throughout, at 3 a.m., this lady took the dog out for a walk, and all she could hear was a loud scream. She didn't know what caused it. She ran back in. She looked out the window. There was this hairy creature running into the woods from this end of the woods. So you had woods here. I saw a picture where this was. I couldn't download the picture offline for some reason. So you had the property line cut with woods on two sides of the house, on this side of the house and on the house. It ran out of this wood line diagonally her property across to the other wood line. All right, who has heard of Ossipee, New Hampshire? Who's been up there? Anybody? Everybody been to Ossipee at least once in their life? They, so Bigfoot have been seen all over the Route 28, 16, throughout the area. In fact, up in, I don't even need notes for this one. This winter, I'm hoping to get up there. There's a friend of mine who has a camp up there that keeps hearing wood knocks all summer long. It's a year-round camp they got out in the middle of the woods and also they own the land and everything. That's a very interesting area besides Bigfoot. There's been UFO sightings up there. There's been no Birdman sightings in New Hampshire, which is interesting. Those have been down in Bridgewater Triangle. But the cats, the Bigfoot, and then who's heard of Newbury, New Hampshire? All the way up there. It was a tall, man-like body, hairy arms, hairy body, brownish red, raw along the side of the chin. Ran along the side of the car, sorry. The car was going 25 miles an hour, and the thing was keeping up with the car. And then when they sped up a little further, it took off. But they were scared. This happened on Plank Road. So, Hancock, New Hampshire. Miles O'Keefe. Remember the evening he detailed a Bigfoot encounter on September 3rd. He was hiking up Mount, I can never pronounce some of these names. Mount Scattercachi in Hancock, New Hampshire. Who's been to Hancock? Anybody? Wow! Some travelers here. You ever seen anything up there? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Some of the things are bigger than they feel like they should be, but we got in Kingston when there was a squirrel, like this one was the size of like I would play it was the like, I don't know what that kind of thing is. Like massive.
So, he stepped out to take a breath and it scared the little deal and said, for a moment, he heard a faint shuffle in the woods, in the leaves. It sounded, as it got closer, he sounded like someone was walking in the woods. He asked if anyone was there, there was no answer. He put his pack back on and headed up the trail. As he headed out of the trail, he heard something crashing into a tree in the woods. He froze. There was no bear. It was 9 feet tall and running on 2 legs, covered head to toe with dark fur, black dark fur, and he knew it was a Bigfoot. Imagine seeing that walking up. He was just getting ready to set up camp for the night, and it wasn't well liked. Another thing seen in New Hampshire, this is something I wasn't familiar with either. Now, when you talk about Bigfoot, you always hear Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Skunk Ape, Yeti. Ever heard of wood devils? Those are found up in Coas County. Everyone know where that is, right? That's like way up in New Hampshire. Like Berlin. Who's been to Berlin, New Hampshire? Wow, we got people like traveling. And have any of you been north of Berlin? We got some hunters here? No, just people that like to go up to New Hampshire. Wood devils, head given to a group of animals or cryptids that look like Bigfoot. The woodland hills of Coas County, first seen in the 1930s, by the first time they went logging out there. The creatures are said to be tall, skinny, covered with shaggy tan gray hair, very elusive and stealthy, hid behind trees, similar to Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but there's a distinct characteristic that set them apart. Wood devils are about 7 to 9 feet tall, has a slender build. And their hair is long and shaggy. It ranges from gray to tan in color. Face, horse-like, with a long snout and small eyes. Larger feet and hands. Long claws and nails. Strong, unpleasant odor. Shy and secretive, avoids human contact, just like me. Hide behind trees and can stand perfectly still. How many of us can stay perfectly still? Oh, I can. I guess nobody can. Has a chilly moves, chilly and it moves real, has quick abilities and can move quite stealthily in the forest, according to all reports. Mostly seen during the day. Wood devils are carnivores, feeding on small animals such as rabbits and rodents. Scavengers on dead, especially in the winter when food is scarce. They raid your garbage can and livestock for food. Makes loud screams and howls, echoes through the howls of Coos County, possibly the direct communication of their territorial display. Has long hair, dates back to the 1930s, early 40s. The largest remote area is Coos County, and the state still is today. Named the wood devil, many agitated from the lumberjacks that worked out in the woods in the late 30s. Some of the names, the Indian devil, Caracoo, quick hatch, nasty cat, skunk bear. These names reflect the creature's ferocity, cunning, stealth, and smell. In 1942, a hunter named George Wentworth claimed to have shot and wounded a wood devil near Dixville Notch. He sold the creature that was about 8 feet tall and weighed 400 pounds. He followed the blood trail for a while but lost it in the thick brush. So he injured the creature and never caught up to the whole thing. In 1948, George LeBoy saw a tall, hairy creature standing behind a tree near his hunting camp. He described it as having a horse-like face with gray hair, and he fired his rifle and missed, but found bigger feet prints near the tree line. Robert Goulet, 1953. No relation to the singer. And no relation to the Haverhill legend, Robert Goulet. Everybody knows who he is. The plumber. Yeah. I asked both of them. I didn't ask the singer, but I asked the plumber. Said he had heard a large scream while hunting in Dixville Notch. He followed and saw a long creature running away from him on 2 legs. He described it as being 8 feet tall, having gray hair. He also fired his rifle and missed. 1973, a group of hikers near Mount Cabot reported seeing a large, hairy creature standing on 2 legs behind a tree. They said it was about 7 feet tall and had grayish brown hair. They also noticed a strong odor that came from it. 1977, a man named John Harrington claimed to saw a large, hairy creature class on Route 3 near Pittsburgh at night. He said it was about 7 feet tall and had gray long hair. Linda Newton Perry claimed she saw a large, hairy creature standing behind the tree near her home in Colebrook. She said it was about 8 feet tall and had tan hair. 1994, a man named Bill Brann, B-R-A-N-N, claimed to see a large, hairy creature run across Route 3. 1997, a man named Bill Driscoll was driving on Route 26 near Errol, where he saw something cross the road in front of him. He said it was about 9 feet tall, had long hair, arms, and legs all covered in hair. It had a gray fur and human-like face, and it looked at him briefly before disappearing into the woods. November 15, 2004. Evan Lachowski said his former wife Edith were hiking a Dummer Pond Trail. The trail is located off of Nash Green Road. The couple were surprised when a dark figurine loomed suddenly in front of them. It was a tall, slim, hairy figure running down the path and disappeared. Lachowski didn't realize what he saw was a wood devil. He thought it was a magic. November 15, 2004, 5 a.m., 2 men were heading to their buck hunting spot. Of course, we're not going to involve where this is because no one gives out their hunting spots if you're a good hunter. When they heard a high-pitched yelp, squeal, and saw a critter run, 7 feet tall, with loose pointed head covered in grayish fur. Both the men were scared by the sound. 2 men hid behind the tree and waited till the devil ran through the ridge. Once it was gone, they investigated the area and found 2 big footprints in the soil. Now, who remembers this incident? Oh, wait a minute, one more here. These creatures have been seen all over Coas County, especially the White Mountains, Vermont Appalachian Trail, and the Canadian border. The debate rolls on if these creatures even exist, or subspecies of Bigfoot. But here are some quick identifications, so you know what you're looking at if you're out in the woods. Bigfoot, black hair, brown hair, white hair, usually packed down, nice and cooled up. Wood devils, grayish skin, long pointy face, thinnish build, and shorter in height. Yes?
Kind of like a Bigfoot cross with a Wendigo.
Yeah. See, that's what makes this field so exciting, because you don't know what we're running against out there. But you're right, it could be.
Seems like a mild mannered Wendigo first.
Yeah. But this wasn't so mild-mannered, it's not this one.
Compared to Wendigos.
Yeah. Oh, this one over here. This board over here, the third board. This happened a few years ago. Who remembers that devil monkey in Danville?
Remember the story.
Yeah. And the only reason why I mention this is because who first saw it, okay? Because, and I'll tell you why in a minute once we get out of this New Hampshire talk, what I think. So, Danville is a small town located in the foothills of southern New Hampshire, just north of Haverhill. Oh, what? Wait a minute, once part of Haverhill. When Haverhill was settled. The monkey first appeared was seen August 21st by the fire chief, David Kimball, when the creature jumped into the road in front of his truck and then jumped into the woods and stunned Kimball. He asked himself, was that a monkey or something else? Kimball consulted a local library and his guess was that he saw a humble woolly monkey native to the Amazon, not New England. Several other Danville residents had seen the animal till August, September that year. Scott Vallecca saw the animal in his backyard while he and his wife, Jen, heard strange noises, screeching nails coming from the woods. It was not a local animal. Local boy said peanut butter and crackers disappeared from the table outside. So he ran into whatever, he left his peanut butter and crackers on the nice table outside because he was having fun, came back and his crackers were gone. Locals assumed it was an escaped monkey pet that was illegally owned near the town. Town set out to catch this monkey, but they never did. It gained national media attention on NBC Today. Show came to town to shoot an episode. But guess what? The episode never aired. Anyone know why? Well, no. It was superseded by 9/11. The haunts continued through September, but disappeared after that. Did he die? Was he recaptured? No one knows. So that was in 2001. 11 years later, September 26, 2012, Michelle and Dino headed with the family dog, and they decided to go full baking it. They go to her parents' house. The dog starts barking at the house in Danville. She looked outside and caught an animal at least 2 feet long with a white bottom and dark brown hair the rest of him. And it was right behind the tree. She saw it and then called animal control, but nothing was ever found. Now, years ago, I got called into, I didn't get called at that time, I was there when the phone call came in. We decided to go, during 9/11, we never closed down, okay? We kept going, because what's an emergency? Someone needs an ambulance ride to the hospital, that's an emergency. But what happens if your daughter or granddaughter gets thrown down a flight of stairs and you don't see what did it? That's an emergency to you guys, isn't it? So we go out, we investigated, we kept the team going. I just refused to. I mean, we wore masks, we took all the precautions, and, everything needed. We were called a lot during that time. But I decided to go out because I get bored really easy and do a Tom Live show. We went to the Tewksbury State Hospital Cemetery, the old Tewksbury Haverhill, loaded with spirits. We actually saw a footprint out there. Come to find out 3 days later, Tewksbury police released there was an escaped monkey running around town, according to that. We're not sure about that, I'm just saying what was released. But there were Bigfoot sightings when 495 was being built. All over New England, 93. Any of these highways were being built. The state workers, or the federal workers, whoever they use, Maine, New Hampshire, that. I get calls all the time about Bigfoot. All right. Local haunts. Well, there's a lot of good local haunts. Let's stay up in New Hampshire for now. Ossipee Triangle. Anyone know what that is? Any guesses? That's a good guess. It was coined by Lauren Coleman in 1978. It starts at Salem, New Hampshire, at Stonehenge, goes all the way to Jackson, New Hampshire, back down to Somersworth, New Hampshire, and then into Salem. What a triangle. What a bunch of investigative work to do in that area. And it's all on the same side of 93, so if you're on 93, it's on the right-hand side. Okay? Even though there's been Bigfoot seen in Keene, UFOs and ghosts all over New Hampshire, that's when he picked out as the triangle. So on Route 16 up there, people have seen ghost horses, shadow figures. There's been a few homes in that area that have had activity in it. We did a private home investigation in Derry, right on Big Island Pond, which is notorious for paranormal activity, because my aunt lived up there for 40, 50 years on Island Pond Road in Derry. She was a fixture up there. And I heard all the stories. This was a 300-year-old house on the way to Island Pond Road, not too far from Big Island Pond. Had toys moving around, shadow figures seen, apparitions being seen. Up on Big Island Pond, people have seen UFOs fly over. And these came from credible people. I'm not saying it because I got a call from a stranger. It's usually the police or a town official that will tip me off in these towns. They also have seen ghostly animals up in that area of Derry. And of course, we all know about the famous person who saved somebody from Haverhill, right? Any guesses? Get out the pen and paper.
Okay.
I'm going to mess up the name of this fairy. But this came from Chronicle, New Hampshire, and Fritz Weatherby. Love watching it. Tisenami. There's a Tisento. There's a road in Manchester, or Londonderry, right where that exotic place you can buy like birds, pet store is, called Tisento Road. According to local legend, Tisento saved Hannah Dustin's life at Silver Lake. Silver Lake, up there in New Hampshire. Did you ever hear that story? Yeah, that was in Fritz Weatherby's New Hampshire. Get that out of the history book up there. So that's some of the other ones. Some of the other places, Mount Washington Grand Hotel, who's ever stayed up there? Anybody? Oh, a few people have. Did you guys have any experiences? No? We actually, I never stayed up there, but I have friends that stay up there, and they go for those big ghost hunts and stuff that they run. They've never really caught anything, but if you read books, that's in almost every book that deals in New Hampshire. Another one of my favorite haunts, I actually stayed at this place, was at Salem, Massachusetts. Any guesses where I might have stayed? Hawthorne Hotel. I actually stayed in the haunted room. We ran a Paracon in there one weekend. We rented the place out. We had the whole place to ourselves. Not the hotel rooms, but you know, they have all those function halls. We had the whole function hall to ourselves. So I put my stuff away in the closet, and I stayed in the most haunted room and gave tours all day long. Let me tell you, my clothes moved from one part of the room to the other room. And that, who stayed in that room? Anybody? It's a double room. This is actually pretty cool. I had never seen this. You walk in the front, you're at the hotel, walk in the door, put your key in. What's in front of you? A bathroom. The bedroom, and then to the left, like a TV room. When you walk in the bathroom, they had two doorways into the bathroom, from the bedroom and the TV room. Have you ever seen that before? I've only seen that one other location, and that was in the haunted Sandown Triangle at the Sandown train station. So we went through that area there, and the night I stayed there by myself, I ran video cameras while I slept the whole night. There was some odd stuff going on in that room. Really odd stuff. Now, who's heard of the Sandown Triangle? Because when I just said that, everybody just looked at me. Anybody? No? Okay. Can you quickly explain it?
Why are they triangles? What's the deal with a triangle?
Well, as you know, with a triangle or square, you have an area that's encompassed, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to investigate and easier to explain. My best friend who passed away, Paulino, used to call them flap areas. I actually agree with him. Because if you have, I didn't bring it with me, but let me just pull this map over here.
You get the most famous Bridgewater Triangle.
That's
Bridgewater, there's Bermuda, everyone's got a triangle.
That's the most famous triangle.
What about the quadrilateral or something? Parallelogram. Circle.
I didn't bring the map with me, okay. Bridgewater Triangle. Everybody knows that place. It's a little bit small. It's Bridgewater, West Bridgewater, where else? Framing? No. Give me a minute. I always mess that one up. Here it is. So it's the Bridgewater Triangle. It's over 200 square miles. It's got Abington, Rehoboth, Freetown, Brock. Those are the ones that are points. Abington, Rehoboth, Freetown. So those are the points. Then in the middle you have Whitman, Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, Millborough, Dighton, Berkeley, Raynham, Norton, Easton, Lakeville, Assonet, Seekonk, and Taunton. About 19 towns. So what are these things? So in 1978, Lauren Coleman coined the term the Bridgewater Triangle, the Pacific Ring of Fire, and the Ossipee Triangle. So these are just areas of contained haunts. So in these areas, you will have Bigfoot, UFO, you'll have Birdman like they've seen them in the Bridgewater Triangle. I have no reports up here at the Ossipee Triangle. Lake monsters, not many down in Bridgewater, but New Hampshire, all have lake monsters. The Winnipesaukee, the Ossapees, they all have lake monsters. That's a talk for another day, but I did pull some of that stuff if you want to look at it. Lake and sea monsters in New Hampshire and beyond. So these are flat areas or angles that have drawn boundary lines so you can research them. It's mostly used for research. But when you have something like the Ossipee Triangle, it goes from Salem to Jackson to Somersworth and back to Salem. How can you investigate all of that? You can't. 19 towns in the Bridgewater Triangle is tough enough with over 1,000 acres of swamp, the Hockomock Swamp is. So imagine trying to get through that. So what I did was, I took areas of New Hampshire, since I've done a lot of investigation work in the Sandown, Hampshire area. And what started as a Canosa Triangle here in Haverhill, same idea. We find all these areas, I investigate these things, claims, some are people's private homes, some are businesses, and I peg it on a map. And when you start getting clusters, you go, wow. So I can verbally show you. Oh, here's the map. You can't really see this one that well, but if you look at the highlighted orange marks, right? That's where I talked about those cryptids, okay? If I was to get another map and pinpoint all the haunted locations that I know in this area, it's gonna cluster in this area. Same with the Bigfoot sightings. And Same with the lake monsters. They're gonna cluster along the ocean over here. So these are called areas of interest. So to keep things reasonable, I took the idea of the Ossipee Triangle, turned one into the Sandown Triangle. Now why did I do that? Who's been to Sandown before? Okay. Who's been to Hampshire before? Okay. So I go out to eat a lot when I'm on cases, because we go right after work. Went to this place called the Pasta Lot. Who's been there before? Anyone know what that place was? It was a hotel, a nursing home, and a morgue. It was a funeral home, not a nursing home, funeral home. So I go in like this to eat, just like this. Or if it's cold out, somewhere around here, I think my jacket's down there. What do you think my jacket says on it? Most of you, some of you know me, some of you don't. What do you think my jacket says? Essex County Ghost Project. If I go to Market Basket, people will stop me and tell me about their hauntings. Oh yeah, it's always fun when I take my mother out to the Market Basket. What should be a 25-minute trip turns out to be about 45 to an hour long. So, we grabbed the Sandown area, so you have to, we never investigated the restaurant. They don't want it investigated. But now it's in the paper that they might be practicing a couple of legal workers went public with it. Okay, but no formal investigations have been done yet. But that place there. Who's been to Zavino Vineyards? I went there for a wedding 2 years ago. Oh, 3 years ago. The bride did not want any pictures taken. She hired a professional staff. So you've been to a wedding there before, or at least seen the grounds, right? So there's a gazebo here. I'm the gazebo. It's where the wedding takes place. There's 3 rows of chairs. Then there's a break, and another 3 rows of chairs. So between the 3 rows of chairs and the break, that break area, that's where the wedding couple would march down. So I'm sitting right at the break where the wedding couple's gonna turn and go to the gazebo. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching the wedding, paying attention. What do I see fly over the wedding but 2 hot dog-shaped UFOs? So that was interesting. Sandown train station, when they're on a regular basis doing fundraising for them. We're done this year, but we'll be back next year. We've got a lot of activity in that place, shadow figures, and a bunch of other stuff. There's and I'm not gonna say the address, because the people, they're clients of mine, I keep it private, but they decided to tell everybody at the last 2 Sandown events about the ghosts in their house and where they live. So, I guess, I won't give out an address, but there's this, another, near the train station, a house that was a tavern. Tavern also had rooms in it, so you could sleep at night. Because people would be going up and down the train from Boston to Exeter, they'd sleep at the tavern. Tavern's haunted. It's now a private home. That's literally, I could with a football hit the front yard of the house from the Sandown train station. You go up the road from the Sandown train station, there's the Sandown Meeting House. 1774, 75, something like that, meeting house. Shadow figures, weird pictures in the windows, weird light anomalies. We haven't put those together yet because that's for another day, for another talk that I'm going to break out and Sandown, but the pictures will be available. I'll put them on Facebook after we do the talk and Sandown. Because they want to have this big, huge fundraiser. If the pictures are already online, you know what happens, right? So that happened, and so that's why I came up with the idea. It's time to break down these things, okay? Because now when I say the Sandown Triangle, it's Hampstead, Sandown, maybe 1 or 2 towns around it. It's a lot easier to do research, isn't it? Then, the whole thing, Hampshire, I have to state, because that I am writing a book on this, but I mean, and I'm not gonna involve every town, and I'm just gonna hit the high spots of the Ossipee Triangle, because I've been investigating that since my junior year in high school. And I'll give everybody a hint how young I am. I just hit my 30-year reunion this year. So that'll tell you how young I am. So, I've been investigating. That area is interesting. Ossipee itself. Many moons ago, I was doing research, and I was told to go contact the Ossipee Historical Society, so I did. They said they may have some pictures of some odd stuff that people left behind. I'd like to see them. They can go see them. They had a fundraiser the night before I went to go meet with them. The building got broken into. Whoever broke into the building left all the cash behind for the fundraiser, but took the pictures of the UFO sightings. They left the cash right there. It was right out in the open. It was like, that was the cash, because back in the 90s, you weren't paying the credit card like you do today when you go to a fundraiser. Most people are still bringing cash with them. It's like a $50 or $60 dinner. So, I mean, there's a lot of cash. I didn't even ask how much they've done in my business, but they left all the cash behind and took the pictures of the UFOs coming out of the Ossipee River. There's also hidden caves at the back end of Little Ossipee and Big Ossipee River. I want to scuba dive those caves, I just haven't done it yet. Rumor has it there's Native American hieroglyphics under there. They be shooting out of the water like this. So, it's a very interesting area. So Sandown, and then the meeting house, the new Sandown Town Hall, we never investigated, but about 3 or 4 years ago, there was, on MUR 9, they were having a selectment meeting, and something came by and started throwing all the papers on the ground. There was no wind. According to them, the papers were being picked up and thrown on the ground like that. So somebody wasn't happy with that. Also, in this area, we know about, who's ever heard of America's Stonehenge? Oh, good, most of you. How about the Danville Beehive? Anybody? No. Danville Beehive is a beehive that's 1,400 years old. It's a stone structure in Danville, New Hampshire. I don't know the address to get to it. I just know how to get to it, but I'll tell you how to get to it. Google search or put in your phone the Danville DPW yard. So it's going to take you to Danville DPW, but before the Danville DPW yard, there's a little parking area. You don't go into the yard. There's a parking area right outside the fence, and there's a walking trail with signs to the Danville Beehive. 1,400-year-old structure. I'm also aware of at least another 100 structures in the Danville, Sandown area that's on private property that people don't want people running through. There's no date to it. There's no nothing to it. They're assuming from carbon dating it's at least 1,400 years old, 14 to 1,800. Now, why do I say that? Because we've been carbon dating stone, it's plus or minus 400 years. So, give or take. So, that's another thing about New England, what was here, what wasn't here. It's a pretty interesting area we live in. So that's the Sandown end. So all these angles are pretty much the same thing. You know, Bigfoot, Birdman, especially out in Bridgewater. I just noticed. That's the Bridgewater Triangle. I separated these and had them in 2 different bags. So that is the Bridgewater Triangle.
Hey, John,
Yeah,
talk about the Hockomock Swamp. You've been in there.
Hockomock Swamp. Who wants to hear about that? Anybody? Okay. The Hockomock Swamp is in the Bridgewater Triangle. Let me see what I got. See if we can elevate that a little bit. How's that sound? I'm not a big PowerPoint guy. I'm from the wrong generation. Hockamock Swamp. What? Let me guess, you've done some research in this field, haven't you? Just a minute. We'll get the pipe up. Because I'm always looking for more volunteers to be on my team. That's my answer. So this is the swamp, okay? So, yeah, I've done quite a bit of poking around with this swamp. Let me pull my notes on the swamp so I know exactly what I'm doing. Hockamock Swamp. It's Algonquin for the spirit that dwells. It's a small swamp. Anyone guess how big it is? Anybody? 16,950 acres of land. It's the largest freshwater swamp in the United States. 17th century swamp was the fortress for the Wampanoag King Philip, who launched his attacks from that swamp during King Philip's War, in the early part of what some historians call World War I. Natives relied on the swamp to provide food, shelter, and protection. It was a sacred place. The Wampanoag worshipped on this land, sometimes called it Hobomac. The chief Dali and his, they protected it, and if white people went in there, the white settlers, they would die from disease. And other unknown things that could happen in there. Well, before I get anything else, with the Hockamock Swamp, there's quick mud in here. You know what quick mud is? It's like quicksand. Okay? There's a lot of bugs in there. Not an easy place. If you were to go walking out there to investigate it, I'd suggest staying on a hard trail and calling me first to make sure you've got all the right equipment with you. And I don't just mean ghost hunting. So, in that area there's been seen birds, like Birdman, Bigfoot, big snakes, panthers, throughout the years. So that's probably one of the biggest ones there. And then of course you got the Freetown State Forest. There's 5,000 acres of land. Who's been there before? Anybody to the Freetown State Forest? That's a nice walk, 5,000. That's on the Freetown Fall River area. I've seen some, we went out there a few years back. We took a team trip out there. And there's these power line trails. And friends of mine in law enforcement had warned me ahead of time that they had been reporting sightings along the trail. So I went into large power line trail. We walked from, who remembers the dog park down in Raynham? The Raynham-Taunton Greyhound Park. We parked there. There's a walking trail that goes all the way into the woods. We got out back. Every time we called King Philip, if I knew I was going to do this, I wouldn't have brought DVDs with me. Every time we called King Philip, the wind would pick up. Right on cue. And it would die down. We found grass that was weirdly laid down like something big slept there the night before. We were in there all day. And we walked about 13 miles in one direction. binocular size. We hit that area real high. And then we turned around and came home. It was getting late. Any other questions?
You ever, Misty or the Massachusetts, North Andover, Boxer, Haverhill area much?
I do. I happened to do a talk on haunted Haverhill tonight, but I can tell you there's cemeteries that are haunted. The cemetery I run is very haunted, Hillville Cemetery. The Jewish cemetery is haunted. There are roads out the Canosa Triangle. That's going to be next year's talk. I'm going to revisit the Canosa Triangle next year because I got some new evidence we're going to add to it. But yes, Haverhill, North Andover, I've investigated private homes, a few of the cemeteries for the North Andover Police Department through the years because they see where things are Andover, I think I got one house in Andover. But there's a lot that goes bump in the night. There are a lot of paranormal teams out there, so we just don't grab everything. But yes, I have done a lot of Lawrence too. But this talk was basically cryptids of New England, and, so I tried to stick to that, and we went a little off, but it's no big deal. Let me just wrap up with this real quick. There's a shadow of Cham. Ever hear of the Gloucester sea serpent? Or the Rockport sea serpent? Or the Portsmouth one? And then we have Winnie off of here. And there's another picture of Winnie up there. And this is the one off the rocks in Egg Rock down near Revere Beach. And then this talks about this is a different talk, but I did want to kind of mention it. If you look up in New Hampshire, you see where some of these lake monsters we're seeing? They kind of coincide with what? The cryptid talk I just did, the Bigfoot. So these things are all over New England. And this is a separate talk I do on sea monsters. But I wanted to bring it all out so you can actually see that these things are all interchangeable and they all work together. You're really interested in this field, it's research, and work. Oh, I almost forgot my cousin. Pukwudgies. You don't want to run into these.
What is it?
Pukwudgie, they're called the devil's son. You can come up and look at this if you want. They're friendly with you and they lure you to your death. There was a case I did in Amesbury, Massachusetts, where actually it was a group home. It's no longer a group home. It was a school. And somebody in the group home called me in because they were having all sorts of problems because they picked up a guitar off the side of the road. And they were playing it. And it brought in nasty stuff into the house. I took the guitar out of the house because it was haunted. I own about 2,500 objects that I've taken out of people's homes. This thing was sitting in the yard just staring at it like, I've never heard of these things around here. They're usually in the Bridgewater Triangle, or who's heard of Cadillac Mountain? The first place the sun rises in the east. They've been seen up there. We did have something, either an elemental, some people have called them elementals at Hilldale Cemetery. It showed up one day and I was able to get rid of it, but it looked more like a Pukwudgie. Took a little bit, but we were able to bring it. Someone had opened up a portal, someone stuck in there and was playing around with Ouija board or something when I wasn't in there, and opened up a portal right in that area. As soon as we knew it was a portal, I wanted to make sure we grabbed whatever came out of that portal, bring it back home and jump the portal down. And that's what we did. I'll get right to you, I saw it again. So these are the Pukwudgies. There's all different views of these things. No one's ever really got a picture. So this is all art rendition stuff. But you ever see one? But you want to see one?
No, I just think
A friend of mine, if you look up the video, She actually channeled one in the Essex Triangle. Channeling is when you allow the spirit of the dead inside your own body. Yes, you had a question.
My question is this: why would you want to take the haunted things into your personal home? And does that not bring those bad things to your house? What do you do about that?
I'm going to answer that question.
What?
That's a good question. Answer, they're not at my house. They're at a secret location, locked down, that is continued being saged. They're locked in glass. They're locked down as properly as possible. And there's been no problems in the people's homes or in my location. I go down there at least 3 times a week and sage the building.
But somebody could break in and let everything go.
That's if they know where it is.
All right, so which house is it?
No one really know where that is. Good job. I get tripped like that all the time. But people don't want them in their house.
Why didn't you just burn them?
Well, okay, you're a spirit. I burn the object. Okay. Let's say this drum is haunted with native spirits, right?
Yeah.
So we got to start a big fire in the yard and we burn it. Where do you think the spirit's going to go? Think it's going to burn up, or do you think it's going to go jump somewhere else? It's going to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
So when you lock these things in glass and sage it down and use sea salt and all this stuff I have here, and we do this after we do everybody's house, we cleanse everybody down. You're locking down the spirit. It's much safer than having it roam.
It would be a waste.
Imagine if Annabelle roamed from one doll to another doll, with the damages left in its wake in the last year. So no, it's not safe to burn those.
Thank you.
That's the obvious thing to do, but not the best thing. Any other questions? They don't allow you in there. Cemetery, they're okay with. They don't allow you in the buildings. Even me, who's got friends all over the place, they can get into the buildings like that. Can't get it because it's still an active hospital. There's another hospital that I've been into that's no longer active, a section of it. It's very bad. Because they were trying to do some work on it. What? What town was that? I believe it was like something around. The VA owns it now. They own the land, there's a cemetery on it and everything else. One of the VA guys, the state company. Just to try to calm things down so the employees get, so the workers can work and everything. Because that area was used as offices, not seeing patients or anybody there, so at night, the only guys walking around there are the custodians, cleaning rooms, taking out the trash. That's it. I know about Ballpate being haunted because I know somebody that works there. He told me a ton of stories over there. But Tewksbury, no. I never liked even going. I've been in the building once or twice when Mass Health was down there. And even that building was kind of scary where Mass Health's office was, and that was nowhere near. If you know the hospital at all. Nowhere near.
I was
You work the front desk? No? Okay. You saw the people that came in that needed the help with forms? I recognize you from somewhere, and I don't know where when you said that. Okay. Oh, that end of the deal, okay. So you didn't deal with the paperwork at all when you came in to turn in the paperwork? Okay. I know you from somewhere, and I can't figure where, but when you said that, I'm like, maybe it was a lady in the county and took the paperwork. All right, any other questions? No. Well, I want to thank you all. You want to come up and look at this and look at some of the equipment? I can briefly show you the equipment too, because we gotta get packed out out of here, but I think it's time. Well, thank you guys.